I kind of fell into it. It wasn't actually anything I planned or intended to really do. I was trying to think about like ways that I could live abroad. Um, and initially it started off like I'm gonna have to get employed by like a company in Europe, and then I'm learning like that wasn't so simple, and I was gonna be an au pair. And so one day when, inflation was just really kicking, I was like, I'm gonna use my money to travel instead of trying to pay rent. And so I like over a year and a quarter ago, I just decided to randomly buy tickets to Austria. And I flew out to Austria, and it was only supposed to travel for a month, actually, a month to maybe 3 months max. And then I really, really liked it. And I couldn't picture myself like going back to my lifestyle in the US. So I was like, I've got nothing to lose to, try and stay abroad as long as possible and live a life here. So that was kind of the start of it. And from there, I traveled 16 countries in 9 months. And then finally, when I reached Croatia, I read about the digital nomad visa, and I applied for that because I had been hired for a company. And that's part of what you needed to get the visa. So when they've approved that, then I was pretty much set. And now I'm here until at least like April of 2024.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm pretty set for a while.
So you're working remotely now in Croatia, or you have a job in Croatia you're working?
No, I don't have a job in Croatia. I just work remotely as a digital nomad while I live in Croatia.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. So the Nomad visa lets you stay a year?
Yeah, so year maximum, and then I believe you have to leave at the end of that year, and you'll have to leave for at least like 3 months, and then you apply when you return.
Okay, wow. That's awesome. And so what are you doing for work now? What's your job?
Yeah, so I do research and I try to connect people with virtual assistants for their small businesses. And then on the side, I also like to teach English because it's a really good way for me to meet people from different countries while I'm like and make money at the same time. I have like students in Brazil, in Korea, and Egypt, Madagascar. So it's kind of gives me larger exposure than what I already have.
That's cool. That's cool. Nice. Yeah, that's what I do a lot of too. Which platforms do you use, or do you
I
do
use
privately?
Preply.
Preply. Okay, I've heard of it.
Well, I
I
also
haven't
do it
tried it.
privately.
Nice. Nice. So just Preply
Absolutely. Yeah.
and private clients?
Yeah, if you use like Google Meets, I really like the feature where you can turn on captions because then the students can hear the way they sound. And if they're mispronouncing things, then Google will misspell things. And then
Okay.
they realize, oh, I said something wrong.
Ah, that's all. I haven't tried that yet. I should look into that though. But
Hmm.
that's cool. And how do you find for your private students, how do you find them?
So actually, I usually find them on Preply, and then if they're dissatisfied with the platform, then I discuss with them that we could do it one on one. Like the students I've been working with for around a year now, long-term students, and we continue our relationship, and then we move on to Google Meets and kind of play around with different platforms that will give us the most success in learning.
Okay, awesome. Nice. Yeah, I use I'm not sure if you've heard of it, Cambly. I guess it's
I have.
similar.
That requires TEFL too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
Yeah, but probably similar to Preply though. But nice. So
Yes, there's
is
a lot of platforms for it.
yeah, there's I'm on like 3 or 4 right now, so it's getting kind of chaotic to keep up. You gotta be like really
Yeah.
organized to manage your time. But cool. And is English teaching your kind of main source of income, or is it mostly the connecting with the virtual assistants?
Yeah, I would say doing the research would be my main income, and then teaching English is kind of a thing on the side. I'm not sure if I would ever be able to do it full time. I think I like more, I don't know. Teaching is just it can be a challenge for me.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm also like exploring different career opportunities right now. I'm looking out into different fields and maybe thinking about going back to grad school. So in my free time, I'm taking courses on Coursera to explore like what university or college like provides courses that help me learn the best.
Okay, nice. And then yeah, that's do you think you'd go back to the US to do that, or would you do like an online degree?
No, definitely not.
No, okay.
I actually got my bachelor's in health in the US. And after that, I was really, really focused. Like my whole life was oriented around the US when I was there. And then I studied abroad in London in 2019, and I was like, what have I been missing of the rest of the
Yeah.
world? Like, this is so amazing. And from there, I wanted to start backpacking, but unfortunately, the pandemic began.
Mm.
So basically, for 3 years, I really dedicated myself to researching different countries around Europe. And then when I realized that, like, you can get much more affordable education elsewhere, much more, quality education, and places like schools in Germany have a different structure where you combine more like your book work with then going out into the field and practicing simultaneously. And so I think a structure like that could actually be better for my learning,
Mm.
instead of just like constant exams, right? So I'm looking at taking a master's program, maybe online or maybe in Germany, because that's a really good route to go. They have good opportunities. After you graduate, I think they give you about 2 years to find a job.
Okay, wow. Yeah, I've heard Germany is a popular place to do master's degrees. But
Hmm.
wow,
And
that's
they've
really
got
cool.
masters in English, which is really good if you look around.
Right. Exactly. And it's much cheaper than the US. So
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, but wow, that's really cool. And then so how's Croatia? I've never been there. How's the like digital nomad scene in Croatia?
Yeah, it's popping right now, actually. I ended up meeting a guy through couch surfing, and if you've ever heard of the couch surfing platform, and
Yeah.
it was around Christmas, so they had a Christmas party, and from there he introduced me to all these digital nomads. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is just like what I need," because of course it was Christmas. I was a little bit lonely that I didn't have family or people I knew to celebrate with.
Hmm.
And so the fact that they had like this digital nomad community to like of all these people who are also in the same situation to come together and celebrate as complete strangers who act very, friendly and nice to one another. So that really was a nice warm welcome into Croatia. And that was, I actually came to Split, and that's where I was like, yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm staying. This is great.
Okay. Nice.
And yeah, it's been amazing.
Cool. And now yeah, I guess you liked it because you'll be there for a year. So
Yeah, I definitely liked it. Croatia has a lot to offer. I've been here for around 8 months already. Um, and I haven't traveled too much since then because I just wanted to chill. But what, like, I have amazing opportunities. I can go off to the islands, I can go to the Balkans, I can go to Greece, and everything's like pretty close by that I would want to see.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to go there. Are there a lot of co-working spaces? Is the Wi-Fi good? Things like that.
Yeah, so that's actually the one thing, to be honest. If I had a complaint, it would be lack of co-working spaces. There's like basically, and really the culture here is that they aren't very work oriented in Split Dalmatia. So that's the one thing is if you go to cafes, most of them aren't like computer friendly, except there's one called D16, and that's where you'll go and there's a lot of digital nomads. Or if you go into like a hotel, if they let you stay. Um, but aside from that, you do have to kind of work from home.
Okay. So do you you have an apartment you rented or do you do Airbnb?
Yeah, so I was lucky that I connected with some people from Croatia who befriended me and they helped me to find local prices with my housing. Um, and so I found more affordable housing and I met a friend through an expat group who had a spare bedroom. So he was just like, come live with me. So now I've been living here for a while and it's really nice. But I would definitely say like if you're gonna come to Croatia to focus on the local prices because that's where it messes with the housing market a little bit is when people come and they're able to pay top dollar for the local housing, then it makes it harder for the locals to be able to afford housing in their own city.
Right, yeah, that's a problem in many countries in Europe, right?
Yeah, it's because of digital nomads and inflation as well.
Right. Yeah. So, huh, that's cool. Do you plan to go to any travel to any other countries?
For sure. Yeah. Actually, I have a plan in the next few years. I don't want to do 16 countries in 9 months the way I did before. That was really a
Okay.
lot. That
Right.
was exhausting, but it was, I think I was riding on some kind of a high from the travel. Like
Right.
I just kept going one country to the next. I
Yes,
was like, oh,
16,
that country
nine
is only a
months.
few hours away. Why not? Um, but I want to see Southeast Asia, like Korea, Thailand, Vietnam. I want to see like Egypt, Tunisia, um, and then someplace in South America, like maybe like Chile or Ecuador would be nice.
So, yeah, so how did you end up traveling to 16 countries in, what was it, 9 months, you said?
Yes, in 9 months. So it started with me wanting to live in a country abroad, and basically, like I knew I wanted to live in Europe, but I there were so many differences between all the countries that I didn't know like where I would be happy living. So I was like, well, I never really know unless I go visit them. And so I flew into Austria and I was thinking about being an au pair, so I met a family there. But it turns out they were fine. They were happy with their current au pair, so they decided not. And I said, well, I have 3 months, so I'm just gonna go travel as many countries as I can in that 3 months. So I did a lot of the Central European countries, and then of course you have to leave after 3 months. So I continued traveling non-Schengen countries in Europe. And yeah, basically that's how I ended up seeing 16 countries in 9 months.
Wow. And which was your favorite? Was that Croatia?
Yeah, I would say like between culture and the city, I think really like Amsterdam is my favorite, the Netherlands. And I've always traced it back to their communication style because I really love their directness. Um,
Hmm.
and it is more expensive, but as far as like the structure of the city, I think it's really unique with how few cars they use and how much more biking they do. Um, but then as far as like the nature and the way of living, I also really love Croatia. I mean, there's so much to do in such a small country, and then the Croatian culture is quite nice as well.
Hmm. Wow. Nice. And what kind of challenges did you run into on that trip? Was there anything difficult?
On that, yeah, so I think I mentioned the transportation was kind of stressful
All
for
right.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it functions differently between each country. The prices are different, and like adapting to how to like validate your ticket when you're getting on each thing is confusing. And then I think the most stressful for me, and thank heavens I didn't like pre-book any of my flights or buses, but I found out like in Italy, for example, a lot of the times the buses are running late. So if you're gonna book, like of course with flights, you give yourself an hour or two in between each flight in case there is a layover. But with buses, I realized like, oh dear, it's the same. And I ended up, my bus was 30 minutes late and it almost caused me to miss a connecting bus that I paid a lot of money for. So I
Oh,
think that was the most
okay.
stressful. Yeah. And just also in the peak tourist seasons, making sure there's enough accommodation for you, that can be stressful as well.
Hmm. Right. And were you working at all during this journey, or was this kind of just traveling?
No, so I wasn't really working until basically when I got to Croatia, and then I had been given a job offer. So I
Hmm.
was teaching English, and then this job offer was in research, and so I had the contract to do that. And so there I applied for the digital nomad visa because you need to like have proof that you're working with a company.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
can you tell us a little more about the process of how you found that remote job? So that's a full-time remote job you're working now?
Yeah. And so they actually headhunted me on LinkedIn.
Oh,
And so they
nice.
just said like they needed me. It's more of an internship, so it's not like a permanent career, but it was a good stepping stone into other research roles or like virtual assistant roles. And so they found me and they were wanting me to do research within like the European real estate market. So actually a lot of my responsibility was to look over like Italy and the Balkans. And then eventually they gave me responsibility over like Spain and Portugal.
Hmm. Oh, nice. And what is your what's your background like that you were able to get headhunted for that?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because really there was nothing in my LinkedIn about real estate. I happen to have real estate experience because my family, we were involved with real estate, but they just randomly headhunted me. So I really don't know.
Okay.
But it worked out because I had the skills from my previous experience in real estate and I was looking for a job. And they were like, well, you can work fully remotely. We don't care where you're located. And they were willing to write me a contract. So I was like, yeah, not even gonna think twice about this.
Yeah,
So
that
yeah,
sounds
it
too
was a good
good to be
experience.
true. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, it was really great. So
that's great. So they just reached out to you. That's cool. So, nice. And then I saw on your profile you said you were a blogger too. Is that something you're working on?
that's
Yeah.
something like I have been in the process of doing, but I haven't really been posting that much. It's kind of like something I'm aspiring to do. And so now I also created like a Fiverr and an Upwork account so that I could help people with their writing. But to be honest, it hasn't gotten that much like feedback. Maybe a few people have reached out to me, but I think it would be like really cool. I actually was in contact with National Geographic asking them about some opportunities, and they did reply to me, but that didn't happen. And then, yeah, I just thought like blogging goes really well with traveling and just having fun and learning and condensing all of that into like a way to make money.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, just writing in general is a great skill to have.
Absolutely.
But cool, nice. And then do you have any plan? Do you think you'll ever go back to America again and, work a normal job? Or do you think you'll do this for
um, that's really hard to say. Like for the rest of my 20s, I would prefer to continue traveling. And maybe, when I'm ready to start a family, I definitely want to stay still more in one place or have a more structured plan for my travels. Because of course, like with kids, it's great education to travel with them. It's just
Hmm?
hard. it
Right.
can be hard depending on the kids.
Yeah.
Um, so in the foreseeable future, no, I don't plan on going back to the US, except if it's to maybe visit family, but maybe they'd rather visit me here in Croatia because
Yeah,
it's
I'm
a
sure.
lot nicer.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet, but it's definitely on the list. Yeah. So,
It's a beautiful place to go to. It's more affordable. I mean, the nature here is fantastic. The sea, and it's it's honestly like a dream city. The only complication is if you're staying here long term, it can be difficult to find a place to rent for that full length of time.
hmm, okay. But yeah, it sounds cool. What's your favorite thing about Croatia?
My favorite thing, I would just say like the picturesqueness of it. Um, and I do kind of like the Balkan behaviors, like the way they interact. And I would say the people here are generally really kind and wanting to help. Um, so I would say that's more in Split than other parts. Like I went to Dubrovnik and it's so tourist heavy. Well, I just got a low battery notification.
Oh,
It's very
okay.
tourist. It's very tourist heavy in Dubrovnik, and for that reason, they're maybe a little bit less friendly. But in Split and other parts of Croatia, I found them to be like really helpful.
Okay, cool. Cool. Very
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, definitely gotta head
I'm
there.
plugging in my phone as we
Okay, no
speak.
problem. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess yeah, I think we covered a lot. So I guess the only thing is, do you have anything else you'd like to add or any advice for people who want to start living a digital nomad life?
And my advice, I would say if you're thinking about it, try and sell all of your stuff that you don't want to use. Like have a plan for that. Because for me, I bought my ticket and it was immediately when they lifted the restrictions. And I didn't have all my stuff sold. I still had a car, I still had a lot of stuff. And I just booked it. I didn't even like I packed all the stuff in my car and I gave it to a friend. And I was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be back in a few months. And so I had to figure out, I didn't expect I would stay. And so if you're thinking like this could be a lifestyle for you, then prepare your life and have it organized so that you can, you don't have to jump back and forth between home and Europe. Luckily, I found a way to sell my car from abroad, but it was really complicated, um,
Hmm.
really stressful, and people thought I was a scammer. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah, but I managed to sell everything. But yeah, make sure you've got an insurance plan for long term. And just, if you want this lifestyle, you have to put some effort and grit into it. And you can't give up so easily when things aren't going your way.
Right. Right, for sure. There's
So I think
tons of
that's
unexpected things that happen.
lots of unexpected. And you just have to, for me, I just have to like I at first maybe I'm angry or upset or like resentful about it, remorseful about it, but then I'm like, you know what? This is what I asked for. I wanted a cultural experience. I wanted to know what the world was like in different places, and I'm getting my answer, good or
Right.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So cool.
So
And
yeah,
then
that's all.
yeah, that's awesome. And then where can people find you? You have
Yeah,
Instagram
so
or
I have Instagram, I have a TikTok, I have if you care, I have Pinterest and Facebook and LinkedIn. And most of them are under the name of Sage underscore Brewer 3. Um, I think that's all of my social media because it's a lot to keep up with.
right. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's about it. So thanks for coming on today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It was great to chat with you.